Hey guys, Kristine Mirelle here with Starving Musician's Guide. This video is to teach you how to book your first paid gig, not in a month, not in 2 months, not in a year, but in 7 days. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to teach you how I've done this. Now I've used this method to book gigs all over the country. Last year I did a 3-month tour where I toured 25 cities around the United States. This is how I booked gigs. This is like 99% of how I booked all my gigs doing that. I have a lot of friends that have done this and used this method as well to book gigs all over the world, not just in the United States. This is a form of cold calling, but there's a really great way to do it where you use certain terms that help you save time and know exactly who to call and just basically how the process goes. Now, one thing that I've heard is people go, oh, this must be easy for you, Kristine, because you're a female. It must be so easy to book gigs as a female. I have a lot of musician friends that are of all different genders, races, ages. I have a friend who's 55 years old that makes well into 6 figures. This is exactly how he books all of his gigs. He doesn't work with any agents or agencies. He books all of his gigs on his own using this method. So let's jump into it. I'm going to show you how to do it right now. So I use Yelp to find the venues. And first I'm going to show you what not to look up. Don't look up venues with live music, because right now what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get you a gig that'll pay you right away, that you don't have to sell tickets. So that's one thing that I really don't like to do. I don't like to have to sell tickets because that's not sustainable. You can't do that 5 nights a week. And we're trying to get you to quit your job so that you can just do music. So what you're not going to want to look up is you're not going to want to look up venues with live music or live music venues. And I'll show you why. The stuff that comes up are places that you have to sell tickets, like Hotel Cafe. If you know anything about Hotel Cafe, this is a very iconic, famous venue where a lot of people that are very successful, very famous perform here. And a lot of people that are locally just have really great followings, but you're usually required to sell X amount of tickets. So maybe you have to sell 50 tickets. But what we're trying to get you to do is be able to get paid for something, for gigs that maybe you do once a week, 3 times a week, that sort of thing. So what I'm going to start by showing you is key terms to look up that you should look up. So we'll start with bars with live music. That's something that you can look up. And then you'll look here and you'll kind of see what this says. So this says music live. So it says they have live music and they're a bar. So what that means is they already have a built-in crowd. So they're not relying on you to sell tickets usually. Now this is where you make a phone call and double check, but usually they're not. So I would write down Villains Tavern. I would write down the Love Song Bar. This is a music venue again, so I wouldn't really look them up. I would do a simple bar. I would look up all these places. So what I would do is I would start a new document. So this is a simple bar. And I would start a new document where I'm going to start to make all the venues that I'm going to follow up with. Now, some people make like a spreadsheet, since they're really organized with this. I just do a Word document. I'll put the bar name, the phone number, and here is where I'll put the note on whether I called them or what happened. So I'll get into that a little later. So I'll start writing down all the list of places that I want to play. Now, I'm from Los Angeles, so I'm looking specifically in Los Angeles right now, but you can do this in any place. If you're in Melbourne, you can look up hotels with live music. This is a great one to do because hotels already have guests there. So you're already going to have a built-in crowd that comes to see you already. So you're just going to look up this kind of stuff. This is a lounge here, the Esplanade. I'm Mexican, so I try to add accent to everything. The Esplanade Hotel. So this looks like they already have a drum set. So this might be something to look up if you're in Melbourne, or maybe you're setting up a tour to go to Melbourne. So we're going to set up that list. So let's Esplanade Hotel. That's if you're in Melbourne. Obviously, whatever city you're trying to book in, that's what we're trying to book in right now. So let's say you're in New York City. You can look up wineries, or breweries actually would be a good one there. They probably wouldn't have so many wineries. Breweries with live music. So here you can see that there's all these breweries. Now, the great thing about breweries is even if they don't have live music, you can still call these places because a lot of these places still love to have live music. I have a friend who set up a brewery tour. She toured, I don't know, something like 20 states or something. And all she did was play at breweries, and it was pretty awesome. And these don't always pay as much as some of the other venues, but they do pay, and they're usually really laid back, and they'll pay you to come in. So other things that you can look up, and I'll show you a list of keywords to use. So search words that you would use is bars with live music, resorts with live music, hotels with live music, restaurants with live music, breweries with live music. I spelled brewery wrong. And music. Wineries with live music, if you're in a place that has wineries. You can look up a bunch of different stuff. Also, if you're, let's say you're a blues singer or you're a jazz singer, you can also look up, you know, best blues or best restaurant with blues music. There's a bunch of things that you can do, so get creative with it. Just make sure whenever you're looking here, like let's go back to Los Angeles. Let's go to restaurants with live music again. And just make sure that it says live music on there, and then you can, you know, call. And sometimes I still call even if they don't. So there's the Parker Room. This place has jazz in downtown LA. So if you're a jazz singer or a jazz musician, that would be a good place to call. These are all places that have live music. Even Blue Whale Bar. I'm not sure if that one you have to sell tickets. It looks like you might have to, but go ahead and call. Dresden. All these places. This is great because you can see that it's a restaurant. So again, they're not going to rely on you to sell tickets normally. They already have a built-in crowd. They're just trying to find good musicians to perform. So I would look up all this other great things that you can look up. I mean, you also have like piano bar. You can look up steakhouses with live music. You know, those usually have decent budgets because people are spending a little bit more there. Another great thing to look up would be retirement homes. And the reason being is that retirement homes usually for just an hour of your time will pay you on the low end of $50. That usually doesn't happen. They'll usually pay you about $100 to $150 just for an hour of your time. And you could book like 2 or 3 of these a day. So you could be making $200 to $500 a day if you book multiple retirement homes. So I would look into that. You can also look into churches. Churches are always looking for quality musicians. They usually pay you $100 a gig. And some people feel a certain way about musicians playing in churches and asking to get paid, so that you can kind of go about that however you feel is right. So I'll kind of give you an idea of what to expect to get paid through my experiences. Bars will usually pay you anywhere from like $100 to $250. That's usually what they pay you. It also depends, keep into consideration where you are. So if you are in a place where a bar might only hold like 15 people or 25 people, you're probably not going to get paid as much because they're not making that much off of it. But if you're playing at a bar that does high volumes, you're probably going to get paid a lot more, especially if you're, let's say the bar's doing really well because you're performing. Let's say you're bringing in, or you're keeping a lot of people there because they're enjoying themselves and they're not leaving. Then the bar eventually might even pay you more. Resorts with live music usually will pay at least $200. Resorts are pretty good. I've gotten paid up to like $450 a night for like a 4-hour set. So you'll usually be playing about 3 to 4 hours. Hotels with live music are usually the same. They're usually anywhere from like $100 to $250. That's probably about the standard. You're going to get $100 to $250 per gig. Just depending on where you're at. Breweries don't pay a whole lot, to be completely honest. Sometimes it might only pay you like $75, but sometimes they'll pay you up to $300. Again, it depends on how busy they are. It depends on what kind of volumes that they serve, how many people are in there. So make sure to just make your phone calls. Wineries tend to do pretty good. Not $400. Anywhere from $200 to $300 is about what you can expect from a winery. If you're a good entertainer, you're a good musician, that's what you can get. Same thing, when it comes to like blues and jazz, it just really depends. Again, that can be 75 to 250. If you're a band, that's a whole different story. You can ask what they pay for bands, 3 pieces, 5 pieces, or whatever. Piano bars are about the same, 100 to 250. Steakhouses are going to be about the same. You're also going to make tips, so keep that in mind. If it's busy, you can usually expect at least $100. It depends on how good you are. It depends on the types of people that are there, and if you're doing requests and stuff like that. I will say some people like to play in coffee houses. Coffee houses with live music or coffee bars don't usually pay a whole lot. And the reason being is a lot of them do like open mics and that sort of thing. So they're already getting free entertainment all the time. The other thing is they're probably not making as much money as like a bar because they're not selling alcohol. So a lot of times, the reason why I don't think that this is always good is because sometimes they'll try to pay you just in like coffee or pie. Like, hey, we'll give you some free pie because this is good exposure. Now, if what you're looking for is exposure, then that's great. But I'm here to teach you how to get paid. So if you're trying to get paid from a coffee house, good luck. It's possible their budgets aren't going to be as high usually. There's certain people that are going to try to pay you in other things. Like, I'll give you like some tacos. And that's cool. Tacos are great. But we're trying to get you paid, so that's what I'm going to focus on. So now that you know how to look it up, I'm going to kind of show you what to ask whenever you call them. And I'll go through this really quickly. When you do make the phone call, so let's say you've made your list of people, and don't be afraid to call like 50 venues in a day. I do it all the time, and sometimes it takes a couple of days to get a hold of everybody. But make sure you ask, do you do live music? Because sometimes, even though Yelp says they do, they actually don't. Ask them what kind of musicians they book. Because if you're a country music artist and they do jazz, don't even bother. Who's in charge of booking the live music? They may or may not be there at the time. Ask them if you can talk to them. If not, ask for their email. And then at that point, you email them your videos that you have, photos, any promotional stuff that you have, your biography, your Instagram, all that good stuff. Make sure you send them all your best stuff. So hopefully you've prepared something that you can send them. Now, let's say you don't. Let's say you haven't had a chance to prepare anything, but you're desperate. You need to get a paid gig. What you can do is you can offer to come in and do a live audition. So maybe you come in and say, hey, I'll play for 15 minutes or a whole set, which is usually 45 minutes. To come in and perform. And they're going to love that you came in, that you took the initiative to come in and perform. So hopefully you've prepared something awesome to get them thinking that you're great, and then they'll pay you. Then you find out what they pay, of course, and then see if it's negotiable. And then you can decide whether it works for you or not. If you don't want to play for $50 and that's all they have, then at that point you can decide to call another venue. But if you're just trying to get your foot in the door and get some experience, and maybe this is your first gig and you need to practice anyways, and go ahead and take it. Or maybe we'll take something even less. It's totally up to you and at your discretion. The only other thing I brought in here is an email. This is a sample email that you can totally take a screenshot of something what I usually send out. This says, hi Sally, I'm a singer and a pianist local to the area. So this kind of shows you, I put a little, hi, I just wanted to submit myself. Here's a link to a video that I've done. Here's my EPK. If you don't know what an EPK is, you can Google that. And I'll also get into it in another video. And I'll also put my social networking links and my bio. I usually put, you can reach me at 333 and put my email address, yahoo.com. I still use Yahoo. What? So yeah, there it is. That's a sample. I'll put your introduction, video sample, links to anything that you have, your bio, your phone number, and then you follow up. You don't just email and walk away and hope that they call you. Email them, call them back, offer to come and do an audition. I usually put my link here, like called and they said to call back on Thursday. So then I'll call back on Thursday. This one I'll say they said they don't like music. So then I won't call them back or whatever it is. So anyways, this will work. The only way this will not work is if maybe you haven't perfected your craft. So maybe you need to work on your musicianship and your vocals and you're singing. If you're a great musician, this will work every time. I guarantee it. The only other way this might not work is if you don't follow up correctly and you don't call back and do your due diligence. So good luck, guys. This should definitely book you some gigs. This is a really easy method that I've used all the time, and lots of my musician friends have as well. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them. I'm happy to help. Go to my Facebook at Starving Musicians Guide on Facebook and send me a message there and I'll get back to you. All right, guys. Thank you for tuning in. See you next time.